Okay, welcome everyone to the Kiwanis Family Resource Webinar. We are so grateful that you have taken time out of your busy lives to join us today. I hope that we will be able to provide an enriching experience that leaves you with a deeper understanding and interest in our Kiwanis family. If you have any questions throughout this webinar, the optimal time to have them answered will be during the open floor Q&A at the very end. Now, before we delve into all the content, we'll begin with a quick introduction of the Pacific Northwest Kiwanis Family Relations Committee. Starting with myself, my name is Emma Lashro, and I serve as the chair of this committee and as the Lieutenant Governor of Division 65. We are also joined by Committee Secretary and Lieutenant Governor of Division 52, Heather Hayes, as well as Executive Liaison and District Treasurer Haley Smith. Our committee members also include Lieutenant Governor of Division 54, Alabama Michaud, and Lieutenant Governor of Division 20I, David Lim, and Lieutenant Governor of Division 28, Erica Groeschel, who I'll be passing it off to as we jump into our first topic.
Hey, it's Erica, and in the next few slides, you'll receive a crash course on just how big and meaningful our Kiwanis family is. For short, this section of the slide can be referred to as KFAM 101, since this knowledge is the foundation for much of what you're going to learn later today. To start, we want to ask, what is the Kiwanis family? But first, learning some key terms is crucial to the comprehension. Brand and SLP, aka Service Leadership Program, both refer to an organization which functions under a parent organization through a certain age group or demographic. Now that we know what branches mean, the Kiwanis family encompasses Key Club and 5 other branches. These branches are KKids, Builders Club, Circle K, Kiwanis, and Action Club. KKids is the first branch we'll take a look at. They're a service branch at the elementary school level. Like Key Club, it is an international student-led organization. They provide their members with opportunities to perform service, build character, and develop leadership skills. Their motto is, "We build," and their core values are leadership, character building, caring, and inclusiveness. Next up, we have Builders Club, which is the largest service organization for middle school and junior high students. They are another student-led organization that is very similar to KKids and Key Club. They share the same core values as KKids, and their motto is building leaders. Then we have Circle K, which takes place at the college level. Their motto is to live to serve, love to serve, and their core values are service, leadership, and fellowship. Now we'll cover Kiwanis, a branch which I'm sure most of you have already heard of. They're a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world one child and one community at a time. Their motto is serving children of the world, and their core values are stewardship, transparency, responsiveness, legacy, integrity, and trust. The final branch we'll be covering is Action Club, which is a volunteer organization for adults with disabilities. Their mission is to provide adults living with disabilities an opportunity to develop initiative, leadership skills, and to serve their communities. Their motto is, "Where development has no disability." Now I'm going to pass it off to Alabama so she can inform you on joint projects.
Hi guys, it's Alabama again. If you are not already aware, I'm the Lieutenant Governor of Division 54, which is located in Southeast Washington, and I'm here to talk to you guys about joint projects. Let's get into it. Now, what exactly is a joint project? Made obvious by its name, a joint project is a service project or event carried out by your club and another, usually affiliated with the Kiwanis family. Holding a joint project has numerous benefits. First of all, because there are 2 clubs participating in the event, you double the audience being advertised to, as well as the potential for creating a larger impact. Joint projects also tend to have more effort, planning, and time put into them, creating an event that has the potential to do more good than just a solo event. Also, the events serve as a great way to keep in contact with your sponsoring Kiwanis clubs / KFAM in general, because they're the clubs you tend to be working and planning with. Okay, so now that we've gone over why you should hold a joint project, let's look at some past examples. The wonderful Silverdale Kiwanis Club holds a monthly food drive with support from the Central Kitsap High School and Olympic High School Key Clubs. The event is 30 years strong and was chosen as one of the top 10 projects by Kiwanis International. The Key Clubbers help out by handing out flyers, collecting donations, and helping load the food bank truck. This project goes to show how well Kiwanis clubs and Key Clubs can work together to create a years-long service project that directly impacts the local community. Another example is a project between the Kiwanis Club of North Thurston and high schools at North Thurston, Rivers Ridge, and Timberline. As shown in the pictures, you can see the annual event is carried out at the Ruland Health Care Center, where these two Kiwanis family groups bring holiday cheer to the residents via song, small gifts, cake, and good conversation. This classic event where holiday time is shared with some older folks who appreciate you being there. Up next, let's look at how to plan a joint project. Not so different from planning a normal project, joint projects begin by identifying what exactly needs to be addressed in your community. Ask yourself these questions to find where you can make the biggest impact. Who needs help? What can you do to make an impact? And how can you accomplish this? And is this realistic? Then, based on your decision, choose which branch of Kiwanis would be the most logical to work with on this project. For example, if you want to hold a book drive, you could do the joint project with KKids or Builders Clubs, as they would have more influence on their classmates and have more age-appropriate books to bring to the table than Kiwanis. Or if you were doing a more costly project, you could partner with Kiwanis, as they would have more means to support the event than the other branches. Also, consider the accessibility of the event. If students need to travel to a venue that isn't their school, maybe it would be best to go with Kiwanis or Circle K so they could provide rides to the event. And next, you need to contact the club you decided would be best for your project. Keep in mind who you're contacting and use polite and respectful language with everyone. After you contact the club you're interested in collaborating with, begin to hold meetings with that club and sort out the details of the event. Be clear with exactly what you want from your partnering club so there is no confusion and everyone has a task. Arguably, the most important step is ensuring a quality project is the next step. Advertising. Publicize the event everywhere. Create graphics to host, to print, and to go on your announcements. Invite people personally. Email whoever you can. Just get the word out. And after all that effort, the last task is to hold your event. To ensure its success, I recommend creating a checklist of what needs to be done, who needs to be where and when, what needs to be moved, etc. And also remember that you are the one holding the event, so you need to be there early. And that's all you really need to know about joint projects. Easy, right? My last section functions as a tool for you to remember, serves as a tool for you to refer to when you're coming up with service project ideas. Here's a concise list of projects you can do with KKids and Builders Clubs. For example, my club did a book drive last winter where we collected 150 plus children's books. That would have been a really easy project, which we could collaborate with KKids Club had we thought of that. Similarly, I know a lot of clubs do tutoring with middle schools, so that would be a good way to have consistent communication with a Builders Club, and you could help them and their peers out. Next, let's consider joint projects with Circle K and Kiwanis. I would definitely recommend reaching out and doing projects with these two. We are high schoolers, students, and we will hopefully be going into CKI as we move into our college years. And so with CKI, I especially think that a college application workshop would be great because I know I am, and other high schoolers are always interested in the inside scoop, which naturally makes it a great joint project option. And of course, the Kiwanians, yes, support us so much and are a great contact in general. As for them, I see a variety of joint projects happening annually, such as bell ringing, toy drives, working at food banks, and an array of fundraisers. And then last is our Action Club joint project ideas. I know this one's a little bit more unrealistic since most divisions don't even have an action club, but if you do, this is for you. The Special Olympics is an organization that your club could volunteer for and help with for fundraising. I know the event needs help a lot of the time, as many do, and it's easy to help out. And connecting with an action club helps our Key Club kids develop an understanding of adults with disabilities. And with that, I'm done. It's been a pleasure presenting, and I will now pass it on to Emma.
Okay, hello everyone. I am thrilled to announce our next topic, Kiwanis One Day. But before we delve into all the details, I would like you to really think about our prompt. What can you do in one day? What positive change can you create in a single day? How many lives can you affect? Maybe think about your favorite service projects that likely took place in one day. You don't need a whole year or even a whole week to do good. When it really comes down to it, all we need is one day to make an impact. And this sentiment has become the guiding principle and origin story of this Kiwanis family tradition. It's essentially a day set aside for service from all 6 branches of our Kiwanis family, and it has historically been on the 4th Saturday of October. However, it's important to remember that at the end of the day, it's the service and impact that matter, and not the particular day it was done. Now, here's a simple diagram that illustrates how interconnected Kiwanis One Day is. In contrast to the joint project diagram you viewed earlier, Kiwanis One Day is intentful in involving all the branches of the K-Fam to form this tree of service. Still, Kiwanis One Day is much like joint projects in terms of its numerous benefits. For one, it amplifies the impact of our service. It also diversifies the people you interact with and the opportunities that become available. Kiwanis One Days are especially great for networking. For example, Kiwanians are likely to be well established in their communities and have years of service project ideas that they would be happy to share. Professional experience and career networking are potential benefits too. Collaboration in general opens up more resources, such as transportation and supplies, as Alabama mentioned earlier. Lastly, Kiwanis One Days can lead to sustainable, long-lasting service through continued collaboration, especially if it becomes a tradition in your division. So, how would you go about participating? Well, there would be 2 primary ways of doing so. First is the typical way of joining at Kiwanis One Day hosted by a Kiwanis Club. If you aren't already invited, contact your division's Kiwanis Lieutenant Governor or your sponsoring Kiwanis Club to see if they're hosting a Kiwanis One Day. If they are, request an invitation and offer help. Make yourself useful. And if they aren't, consider taking the initiative to organize one yourself. Planning a Kiwanis One Day is significantly more work than joining one, but the process itself is not too different from hosting a joint project. I say this to re-emphasize that involving a Kiwanis family is not an impossible feat. It does involve additional steps and extra communication, but it's still completely feasible. Start by locating nearby K-Fam clubs and selecting a relevant service project. Then make sure to contact the leadership and establish collaboration with them. Next, continue communicating and delegating tasks. At this point, your 5th step will be to publicize and promote. After an adequate promotional period, hold the event. Of course, this is a very rudimentary breakdown of the necessary steps, but this is all just to say that it does not have to be as complicated as you may think it is. Finally, I'll be showcasing some Kiwanis One Day ideas. Take a moment or 2 to look at the list. Are there any that stand out to you? Type your favorite ideas into the chat. You're free to come up with your own and share as well. So you can see there's some road, creek, and creek cleanups, maybe an adopted park or a parade monitors. What would you do if you were hosting a Kiwanis One Day? Ooh, tree planting. Mural painting, yes, I love the painting ones. I feel like that would be super fun. Definitely. Ooh, okay, I'm seeing 2 of the mural painting. Drive-through food drives. Yes, district project will appreciate the food drives. Ooh, okay. In addition to these, joint project ideas can easily be converted into Kiwanis One Day events. So if you have a joint project idea that you like, maybe you can convert it into a Kiwanis One Day for a greater scale and more participants. Now that We'll be concluding my section on Kiwanis One Day, and we'll be moving into a Q&A with our joint project and Kiwanis One Day panelist, Katie Nguyen. So Katie is the immediate past Lieutenant Governor of Division 44 and the immediate past Decon Committee Chair. She has a lot of valuable insight and experience with the Kiwanis family, and we are so very thrilled to have her here with us today. Would you like to say a word before we jump into a few questions we have prepared for you?
Sure, I'm super excited to be here, and I feel like after you're done with Key Club, there are plenty of opportunities to still get involved as a graduate.
Awesome. So the first question we have for you today is, in your experience, what sets Kiwanis One Day apart from regular joint projects?
I think that Kiwanis One Day is a little bit different than other joint projects because it's, as you've mentioned before, a specific day that is designated by the Kiwanis organization to make that impact. And so a lot of times Kiwanis clubs will have like a signature project that they do every year. And on top of that, again, it's a really great opportunity to network with other people outside of the Kiwanis organization.
Definitely, that is a big one that distinguishes the two. And my second question would be, who coordinated the joint projects you attended? If it was Kiwanis, how did you as a Key Clubber get involved?
I would say that the events that I've participated in, it's been a mix of both. A lot of times Kiwanians will take the initiative and other times Key Clubbers will. And if it's more of a Kiwanis-led thing, I would suggest attending their Kiwanis meetings or even asking if you can go to some of their officer meetings. I went to one of our Kiwanis Club's officer meetings and got to participate in the process of them making an online auction in replacement for an event that they would do in person.
Ooh, yes, those are so fun too. Okay, so what advice would you give to someone planning a joint project?
My best advice would be to be super flexible. On the day of, there might be some challenges that come up in your way. For example, our Kiwanis Club hosted a rummage sale over the summer a few years ago, and we didn't expect it to rain, but it did. And through communicating and really like coordinating things, we were able to cover things up that needed to be covered. And it kind of goes back to what Alabama was talking about having like a to-do list before you start an event.
And then, what joint projects would you recommend to an area with weak Kiwanis presence?
I would recommend joint projects that have very few materials and are super like simple to do. Some of my favorite events are making literacy packets for Love Letters for Literacy, making dog toys out of old t-shirts, and making weighted stuffed animals for children with sensory issues.
And then what would you say is the most effective way to communicate with Kiwanians, and how do you maintain these relations?
I would say the most effective way to communicate with a Kiwanian is through emailing them, and your LTG area administrator or even your faculty advisor should have the contact information for your Kiwanis advisor. So if you just shoot them an email to invite them to your next meeting, that would be amazing. And then on top of that, to maintain these relations, you can work actively to promote the projects that your sponsoring Kiwanis Club is hosting. So I know for me, in my Lieutenant Governor newsletters, I always tried to promote any projects that they were doing, as well as inviting them to attend some Key Club projects as well.
Yeah, the relationship between Kiwanis and Key Club is definitely mutual, and the same way you'd want them to promote your events, you would want to promote theirs. And now Katie will be walking us through some joint projects and Kiwanis One Days she's been through.
So the first one is where Key Clubbers and Kiwanians serve pancakes at IHOP, and that was to promote and raise money for the Children's Miracle Network, which is one of our preferred charities. And then the one on the side is the bell ringing, and so our Cascade Park Kiwanis Club coordinated like shifts for the 4 sponsoring Key Clubs to raise money for the Salvation Army. And both of these examples, the Kiwanians really initiated the conversation and gave us like the time slots to do everything. And then the Gila's Key Club Car Wash was an event that was more Key Club led. With the help of the Kiwanians, our Key Clubbers were able to raise almost $200 from their car wash, and Kiwanians helped to advertise the fundraiser. They provided materials and volunteered at the event, as well as came to get their car washed. And then for the rummage sale, Key Clubbers volunteered to fold and organize some items for Cascade Park's annual rummage sale. And then this is Fall Festival of Service for 2019, where Key Clubber officers from Division 44 serve meals at an auction and also help set up. And then we have the Foster Children's Holiday Party 2019 before the pandemic, where Division 44 members danced with foster children as well as ran the cocoa stand. And then for Kiwanis One Day, when we were able to do it in person, our Kiwanis Club would often do a baby food drive. And from the most recent one, we raised 564 pounds of baby food for the local food bank. And then because of the pandemic, last year we hosted an online event where we made literacy packets for Love Letters for Literacy. And at that event, we had members from Circle K, Key Club, and some representatives from Builders Club as well.
Okay, so thank you, Katie, for all your wonderful answers. I hope you as the audience have found something valuable in those. Oh, I see that Jace L has raised their hand. Would you like to be the first question for Katie?
Yeah, so can you guys hear me okay, by the way?
Yes.
All right, so is there a calendar for Kiwanis events that I can add, like a Google Calendar or something like that?
I would say that you can just communicate with your Kiwanis advisor to see kind of what signature events they have. And you can also ask your old officer team if they know what events have been hosted between the two clubs.
Okay, thank you.
And if anyone else has questions, you're free to put it into the chat or raise your hand as well. We'll be giving you guys all a few moments to come up with questions if you have any. If not, we will moving into the next section, or if you are typing a question right now, just let me know and we can get back to that as well. And at the end where we go into the open floor Q&A. Okay, so next up is the Builders Club curriculum by Heather Hayes.
Thanks, Emma. Next, we'll be talking about Builders Club curriculum and some effective ways you can implement it in your clubs. So first of all, what is Builders Club curriculum? This curriculum was developed to provide ideas and suggestions for your club meetings and events. Within this curriculum, you will first learn about general information regarding Builders Club and how the curriculum is organized. Next, it talks about some of the benefits of joining and how to efficiently use the ideas in the curriculum for club meetings. Finally, it talks about service projects and icebreakers, and then finishes with some ideas for Builders Club joint projects. The URL for the curriculum can be found here on the slide. So how do you use the curriculum? Well, inside you will find information to develop 2 slides per month. Each presentation includes a service project, icebreaker, lesson, or activity. Everything in this curriculum is just a suggestion, so feel free to change the activities or adapt them to fit your club. When using the curriculum, it's important that you keep your meetings fun and interactive. That means varying your meeting styles, so instead of just showing a presentation each meeting, have a guest speaker or do a service event in the entire time. If you do choose to do a presentation, make sure to add graphics, pictures, and videos to keep your members engaged. And as we previously mentioned, don't be afraid to change the curriculum to better fit your club, and feel free to add your own activities and ideas. Next, make sure your members know that Builders Club is not only part of Key Club, but also the Kiwanis organization. This is a great way to start getting middle schoolers excited about Key Club and continuing to serve their community. Finally, make sure to ask for feedback. It's important to learn what type of meeting styles and activities your members like. Now let's look at an example of a club meeting. Starting off with an agenda, we will begin with the Builders Club pledge, then an icebreaker, a service activity, and finally a fundraiser. And as a reminder for your meetings, it's not necessary to include all of these components. You're welcome to include more or less depending on how much time you have and what your members are interested in. It's great to start off any meeting by reciting the Builders Club pledge. It reminds your members what they are trying to accomplish while being part of Builders Club. After the club, you can move on to your first activity. One of the possible icebreakers you can hold is the My Passion icebreaker. In this activity, members will have the opportunity to introduce themselves and talk about something they're passionate about. This is a great way for your members to learn about each other and bond. After the project, you will have the opportunity to debrief. Ask your members what they learned from the activity and how they can use that knowledge to become a better club member and volunteer. These are some examples of the questions you can use to debrief. Next, you can choose to do a service activity. In this example, members will participate in an activity known as the compliment board. This is a great activity if you're looking for a simple service project that all your members can participate in. All you need is sticky notes and a bulletin board. Next, you can choose to do a fundraiser. In this fundraiser, your club will set up a jar of a popular candy in a frequently visited place at your school. The desk will be manned by members and staff, and students will have the opportunity to guess the amount of candy in the jar for a certain price. By the end of the week, whoever guesses the closest wins a jar of candy. This is a great, inexpensive fundraiser if you're hoping to involve your entire school in Builders Club. Finally, if you're looking for a Kiwanis and Builders Club joint project, this is a great example. The Oak Harbor Kiwanis Club and Builders Club of North Whitby Middle School volunteered with the Oak Harbor High School Key Club to help expedite gifts for their local holiday house where they give Christmas gifts to those in need. Now, I'll pass it off to David to discuss contacting your local Kiwanis family.
Hello, everyone. Just to reintroduce myself, my name is David Lim, and I'm the Lieutenant Governor of Division 20I. Today, I'll be talking about contacting your local Kiwanis family. Some methods include asking your Key Club Lieutenant Governor or your Kiwanis Division LTG. Another good option is to look through local town hall records to search for Kiwanis family organizations in your community. The best way is to simply use the joint KFAM directory. It has all current information about who and what other kinds of Kiwanis family branches are in your division. This is why it is so important to reach out and get to know them and the resources they have to offer. To find your Kiwanis family in your area, you can navigate directly through the tiny URL or through the PNW Key Club website. Just click the Resources tab, then Kiwanis Family to open up all the resources. Among them, you will be able to find the joint KFAM directory. We also have correspondence graphics to visually scan for divisional KFAM clubs. Feel free to take a look. First is the KKids and Builders Club correspondence graphics. These show a direct Key Club to KKids or Builders Club correspondence. Then I'll give you guys just a second to look at it. Unlike the first two correspondence graphics, the Circle K graphic is not a direct correlation and instead displays Circle K's own division and how they correspond to a Key Club division. The Kiwanis correspondence graphic similarly displays their own divisions. Last, in the Action Club correspondence graphic, this is structured like the KKids and Builders Club graphic and aligns Key Club divisions directly to an Action Club. Now we'd like to provide you with additional resources. Some helpful resources to look over if you're having trouble with service projects would be to check out the ISSUU guidebooks, which cover how to maximize the impact of your service, and the Joint Project Guide, which gives you great advice on how to start the school year strong and ready. And if you ever find yourself needing to email someone for help, these templates offer a great layout on how you should go about writing the email to a Kiwanian. And lastly, be sure to check out the KFAM resource drive, which includes resources from past years and materials for each level of the Kiwanis family. This can also be accessed directly from a tiny URL or through the PMW Key Club website. Oops, I accidentally clicked that. Now we'll be opening up the floor for questions.
Okay, I see Jace L has raised his hand again. Would you like to unmute and speak?
Sure. So I noticed there's a lot of clubs under the Kiwanis family branch. So do they target different age groups?
Correct. They each target a different demographic. So like Key Club targets high schoolers, Circle K is for college students, or KKids is for elementary school students. And then of course, Kiwanis is for adults, whereas Action Club is for adults with disabilities. So they all have slightly different age demographics, or in the case of Kiwanis versus Action Club, how they target different adults. So they do all target different demographics. Oh, and Builders Club is for middle schoolers. Okay, so Tian in the chat says, what would you recommend I do if my Kiwanis LTG is unresponsive to my attempts to do joint projects? Well, in this case, it is always an option to take the initiative yourself, and you could reach out to your Kiwanis LTG. So if your Kiwanis LTG is unresponsive, there are always other Kiwanis leadership, such as Kiwanis club presidents, as well as your Kiwanis advisor, who should hopefully be able to set you up with your other Kiwanis club president and leadership. And through that, you would be able to communicate with them and mention the possibility of hosting a joint project together. And more likely than not, they'll be very open to the idea, and you can basically pretty much start planning a project from there. Okay, I have a DM asking, what day is Kiwanis One Day? So it is on the 4th Saturday of October. So for this year, that means it is on October 23rd. So you can save that date in your calendar and kind of start maybe thinking about that early on. So remember guys, 4th Saturday of October. Oh, and then I have another DM asking me, do all divisions have a Kiwanis LTG? And this question, Alabama can answer. So do all divisions have a Kiwanis LTG?
As far as I know, they should, but recently, for Key Club at least, there has been some missing LTGs, so that might be the case for Kiwanis as well, but in the directory, it's a great resource where you could just look at your division and find out if you have a Kiwanis Lieutenant Governor, or you could just ask your Key Club Lieutenant Governor and they could provide you with who your Kiwanis LTG is.
Yes, definitely. That is an option. And then we have another question asking, can we contact our Kiwanis family to join our club for an event hosted by other organizations outside of our preferred charities? David, would you like to answer that?
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
Can we contact our Kiwanis family to join our club for an event hosted by other organizations outside of our preferred charities?
I believe since more Kiwanis families are more of like a local thing, you'll have one for each. Like I have one for my club, and Anacortes has one for their club. So as long as it fits like a good motive and a good drive, I believe Kiwanis family should be able to do that.
Yes, definitely. Service is the end goal, and it really doesn't matter who you do it with. And it's actually always a great idea to involve other community members, since it is really a great way to promote Kiwanis and just your Key Club organization to others who may not already know about it. And we have another question. Any suggestions for beginner joint project attempts, like for freshly chartered clubs? Okay, so for this one, it's definitely an easy one. For beginner ones would definitely be ones that don't require much materials, kind of like how Katie Nguyen mentioned earlier, such as love letters for literacy, in which you basically just like write letters and you can give them to, maybe depending on the people you want to give them to. Sometimes it's for orphans or for senior citizens, other people who maybe just want a bit more of extra love in their life. Writing letters like that is always a great beginner joint project idea. And then okay, we have another question that maybe Erica, would you like to answer this one? And it is, do you know of any resources that can help your district think of ideas for service projects?
So you can always take, and I know that especially like my division's Key Club and stuff, if you have any sort of social media, you can look at joint projects that have happened in the past. If you, especially speaking Circle K wise, which is kind of what I specialize in, if you go to UW's Circle K site on Instagram too, They have a bunch of photos from when they took and hosted a joint project that invited like my division, Tian's division, and I think one other division too in Seattle. So it's always great to take inspiration from things that have happened in the past.
Definitely. And then Jace L asked, will we be receiving the slides for this presentation after this session? And yes, definitely. We will be emailing it out, and the recording of this webinar will also be posted to the YouTube channel, PNW Key Club's YouTube channel. So there is definitely a way for you to be viewing all of this content at a later time and date. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Okay. We'll wait for a couple more questions as they pop up. Oh, and then Tian Nguyen, he asked, do Kiwanis One days have to be service related? Could you partner with your Kiwanians or Kiwanis to raise funds to donate to an organization or our new district project? So actually Kiwanis One days is a day dedicated to service. So if you do want to have a fundraiser that you want to do with the other KFAM branches, I would recommend hosting it as a joint project. Since again, Kiwanis One Day is the official one, as kind of announced by the Kiwanis organization, is for service and hands-on service at that. So for fundraisers, definitely just convert it into a joint project idea, basically. Okay, oh, we have a barrage of new questions. Okay, so Heather, would you like to answer this one? How do we encourage Key Clubbers to get to know their Kiwanis Club?
So when you're talking to your fellow members and to your officers, make sure to really highlight the importance that Kiwanis plays in the Key Club, because the only reason that any of us are here is because of our sponsoring Kiwanis Club. So making sure that they know that their Kiwanis Club wants to support them and wants the best for that Key Club. And they also provide, like if that club is struggling to find service projects, your Kiwanis Club is probably doing a lot of them and would love to have Key Clubbers there. So they're there to like really solve any problem that your Key Club may be facing.
And would you also like to take this question? Can Key Clubbers partner with other Kiwanis clubs other than their sporting Kiwanis club?
Definitely, for sure. A lot of the Kiwanis clubs in my division are really close together. So they do a lot of work together, and then if any Key Clubber from really any club, even if it's not their sponsoring one, gets involved, they love to see it and they're just happy to have young people involved.
Yeah, definitely. We are a Kiwanis family, so regardless of who your sponsoring Kiwanis club is, I'm sure all Kiwanis clubs would be open to collaborating with you. I know I see that JSL has also raised his hand again. Would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah, so Zoom on my iPad crashed, so sorry about that. So could you repeat that the answer to my question in the chat, please? Sorry.
To which questions in the chat? Your questions?
Yeah,
Oh, is
the
it the
last
one where you
question.
asked if you'll be receiving the slides for this presentation?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, we will be sending those out, and the recording of this webinar will also be posted to PNW Key Club's YouTube channel. So you'll definitely be able to access all of this later. So no worries about that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No problem. Okay. Kaushal, he asks, how do you encourage Builders Clubs and KKid programs to join joint projects since they may not have as much leadership? Okay, so first of all, when you're contacting them, you'll be contacting their Kiwanis advisors or just their faculty advisors in general. And from there, the adults there can help kind of connect you and propose the idea to their Builders Clubs or KKids. Since again, young kids that age probably aren't going to be emailing much. So you will be talking to their advisors, and from there, you'll be able to collaborate ideally. David, would you like to take this question by Claire on how can we engage with our Kiwanis clubs who are back to meeting completely virtually?
So if you're back to meeting completely virtually, I had this idea where you do like an online breakfast. So what my family or like what my hometown does with our Kiwanis is we used to have breakfasts with our Kiwanis family to get to know them and share a meal together. But unfortunately, we can't do that anymore. So I had the idea of talking to my Kiwanis through the camera while eating. And I know it's not really like ideal, but you got to work with what you got. And that's just the best way I figured out how to do it.
Definitely. It's always fun to get to know all of your Kiwanis family. Like they all have like different life stories, of course, from the different demographics. And it's really just great getting to know them all. So I definitely recommend doing something like David suggested if it lets you get to know them. Okay. I have a DM saying, I'm interested in making a builders club, but I'm having some trouble finding people interested in joining. My Key Club has gone and talked to schools a couple of times to recruit members with no luck. What would you recommend? Ooh, David or Heather, would you guys like to take that question since you guys are part of the Builders Club subcommittee?
I can touch on it a little bit. What I found really effective, at least for recruiting Key Club members, is talking to teachers and like you list some attributes that you see in Builders Club kids. And then so those teachers can reach out to the kids that they see in their classes and get them involved that way. Because you're more likely to join something based off a teacher's recommendation that you know really well, off of just like a random email that you get from your school. So really reaching out to those people that have the connections with those students and then bringing them in that way.
Yes, definitely. Personalize all your like outreach, make it more personal, since of course just like receiving maybe an email, you're more likely to just put it in the spam or put it into the trash. But if you get it maybe from a friend or from, again, a teacher, like Heather says, you are a lot more likely to be interested and trusting of that source and kind of become more interested in joining. We have another question. What would you say are the top 3 benefits for connecting with your Kiwanis club? Ooh, okay. I think we can take turns going. So first of all, I would say it really does come down to, this sounds kind of bad, but they are usually more financially stable than Key clubs, and they are really able to help provide for larger service events. Like they can provide maybe tent canopies for outside stations. For maybe like a food drive, you could have the canopy set up and they provide, or they can also provide the tables, transportation, all of which are things that Key clubbers may struggle to contribute. So I would say that's one of my reasons. Maybe Erica, you could share another reason.
Sorry, my audio cut out for like half a second. Could you repeat just like the end of the question?
What are like our top 3 reasons for like benefits to collaborating and connecting with a Kiwanis club?
Okay, thanks. I just missed out on the benefits part and I was like, top 3 what? Anyways, though, I would say top 3 benefits is honestly, like we're all basically sister organizations is what we got from when we were going over KFAM 101, and you really want to keep those connections. And so not only do you have a chance of like inspiring leadership and service projects and like little like our youth and stuff, but then you have a chance of bringing that into Key Club later. So especially working with like younger people, you're going to create new members for later by getting them involved. And then with working with like Kiwanis and stuff, you're helping them to feel connected back to their purpose, which is helping one child at a time. Because like, I mean, we're high schoolers, but in their eyes, we're still kids. And then obviously like funding and transportation and those kind of things. A lot of people can't drive. And so having a chance to bring kids either to whatever project or having Kiwanians meet you wherever is really great. So you can just make a bigger impact by collaborating together.
Yes, also Kiwanians, in my experience, they've been so sweet to talk to. They're really supporting and encouraging, and just in general, they're great people to network with and just talk to as a friend. So I really do recommend getting to know your Kiwanis, maybe even advisor, and just your Kiwanis, sponsoring Kiwanis Club in general. They are
also, Emma, could I take this most recent question real quick too?
Oh yeah, of course.
So at my high school, you said, how common is it to collaborate with other branches besides just sponsoring Kiwanis? I haven't heard of my Key Club collaborating with Circle K, Builders Club, etc. Is it just a matter of reaching out? So I know here, like where I live, at least in the Valley, we have a middle school that's somewhat nearby, and they have a Builders Club. And so a great way to make things happen is by inviting them to one of your events. So we at my high school have after school meetings, and every single time when the winter time comes around, we invite the Builders Club to come. We invite the Builders Club to come and like decorate cookies and work on giving tree tags. So it creates that fun environment where they get to be around like the high schoolers and feel cool. We also get to do like service and help out with giving gifts to people that aren't fortunate enough to have good family lives. So.
Oh, yes, definitely. And then Alabama. Oh, hold on. This question is for you, and I'll read it for you right now. Hold on, oh my gosh, I lost the question. Okay. Can a Kiwanis One Day event just be a potluck and socializing, or does there need to be a volunteering aspect?
So Kiwanis One Day, like, it's all about service, so it definitely needs to have a service aspect to it. You could hold like just joint project or like socials with your Kiwanis family as a means to get closer to them and as a means to like build relationships with them. But by definition, Kiwanis One Day is a day dedicated to service with your Kiwanis family.
Yes, exactly. Kiwanis One Day is for service. And of course, it's great to have socializing aspects to make it more fun, but the end goal is to create service and make positive change. Okay, here's a question for you, David. If there isn't a Builders Club, can middle schoolers come to Key Club meetings to get more involved leading into high school?
So I would definitely recommend, I personally, since we're all a family, I don't see a problem with Builders Club kids or middle schoolers wanting to come to a Key Club meeting. And I think it's a great thing just so they know what they're going to prepare for when they get to high school. So like a way that you can get one started at your school is to locate in like an advisor and talk to your Kiwanis family and see if you can get that set up. But to promote it, the Key Clubbers could go to the middle school, or the middle schoolers can go to the high school, and they can just sit in and talk or listen to the meeting and play the games that they have there too. And I think that'd be really cool.
And then another question we have is, do Kiwanis clubs help with decon? So this does really depend on how many members your Key Club has, and even how many members Kiwanis clubs have. But in general, yes, Kiwanis clubs do their best to try to help you pay the decon cost, since it is quite pricey, and Kiwanis clubs can definitely be really helpful when it comes to helping you finance getting your members there. But of course, it really just does depend on all like the involved parties, economic statuses, and how they fundraise that money. Since I know one of our executive liaisons for our committee, Patty, they actually hold kind of a fundraiser that helps them fundraise for their Key clubs to attend decon. Maybe Patty, if you're here and you would like to mute, would you like to just briefly talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I was just typing in the chat that traditionally the recommendation is that Kiwanis clubs provide 1/3 of the funds. The individual Key Clubbers fundraise 1/3, and then the Key clubs themselves fundraise 1/3. As you said, that may not always be the case if the Kiwanis Club sponsors multiple clubs. And I would suggest, as you're visiting each other's meetings, having that conversation early in the year so that you know what to expect from your sponsoring club. And we do fundraise. Katie pictured earlier today the rummage sale that we're hoping to hold in September. And virtually all of that money is made available to support sending students to decon, and the kids come and help. So it is truly the family all working together to try to raise money to make the fun times happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really awesome what Patty's Kiwanis clubs do, since they really do make a huge impact in allowing Key Clubbers to attend decon. And Heather will be answering our second to last question.
So one person asked, how should we find out where our Kiwanis clubs have meetings? So really all you have to do is reach out to someone in that Kiwanis club. If you're having trouble finding a contact point for someone in that club, reach out to another club that's surrounding in that area, because they're more likely than not, they'll have a contact point for someone in that club. But a lot of clubs are beginning to meet virtually right now. So it's just important to stay updated about what your sponsoring club is doing, and if you can go to that meeting in person.
Yes, definitely. And then Erica, will you answer what should be the best way to reach out to our Kiwanis club?
So the best way is to use the directory. It will have everybody's contact info, and you can even type in like your division number or the name of your high school. And yeah, as Sue said in chat, Brian sent out the Kiwanis directory in the chat, like the link to it, but you should be able to find it if you're part of the Key Club Google Drive. And then you can just send an email out to those people in there. That should get a hold of them. Of course, you can always, if whoever has a social media, reach out over social media too. But specifically Kiwanis, a lot of them like to communicate over email, and we'll be pretty good about communicating too. So.
Yes, definitely. Kiwanians, email is a favorite for them. So be sure to just continue emailing them. I do think that is the best way to get in touch with them communication wise. And ooh, Sue just put it into the chat again. And yes, that is the Kiwanis directory, and I really do recommend checking it out. Oh, Sue, it's password locked, that one. Oh, but besides that, you can navigate to it through the PNW Key Club website. If you go to resources, and then there'll be a section called Kiwanis Family, and then under that, there also is the KFam directory available there. Okay, and here is the password.
The password is PNW Pride. Yeah, 2021.
Thank you, Mama. Okay, so that will be wrapping up all of our questions for our Q&A period. And thank you everybody for attending and participating in our webinar. It was so great just interacting with all of you guys here. And if you have any more questions, please direct them to me at kfam@pnwkeyclub.org. And that is my email if you have any additional questions, which I will love to answer. So definitely reach out to me there. And thank you so much, everyone. You are all free to leave as necessary. Thank you.